All right, hello everybody on the internet. This is Mike Young with a plantbaseddiet.org, and we're coming at you live again. If you're out there, say hi, give us a like, a comment, something like that. And if you actually want to ask us a question, remember this is a Q&A in addition to a live video. Go ahead over to our YouTube channel. You can go there by typing in into any web browser VeganVideos.info. That's VeganVideos.info, and you'll go straight to our YouTube channel, and you'll see the same broadcast live right there, and you'll be able to ask us questions. So, please go ahead and do that, and we'd love to have your questions. And the subject of this video is going to be blue zones. Now, first of all, I'm going to make this video with the assumption, and you should never assume, that you don't know anything about blue zones. And I have a feeling that most people out there don't know about blue zones or what the blue zone is. When I talk to people, they usually are completely clueless, most people. Or they've heard of something, I don't know. But the general idea of what a blue zone is that it's something that was designated in a book by Dan Buettner. I don't know when the book was written. It's called The Blue Zones, I believe, something like that. And he set out to determine why there were certain areas that were smaller areas of planet Earth where a larger percentage of people than normal live to be centurions, something like that, which is at least 100 years old. So that's the whole purpose of it. So if you think about it, a blue zone is something where people obviously live healthy lives. You're not going to get to at least 100 years old unless you're living a healthy lifestyle. And there was a lot of research to be done by Dan because he wanted to figure out why those areas were, what their habits were, what their lifestyle was, that allowed them to, and actually let me turn this off. Sorry, I'm still learning about this new studio. My new studio that I'm in here, and actually you may hear some noise when I'm recording today because there are some people outside that are building a retaining wall. And so if you hear some sawing or hammering or all that, hopefully you won't hear it it won't be very loud, but if it is, it's them. Anyway, let's get back to the blue zones. So Dan Buettner figured out what's going on there, and before I go any further, let me also mention that our organization of plantbaseddiet.org that runs Southwest Florida Veg Fest, and in all my videos I'm always wearing the Southwest Florida Veg Fest shirt. It's February 16th, 2020. Make it a destination event, free general admission. But with the blue zones, plantbaseddiet.org is a blue zone recognized organization. They have actually gone from Dan writing his book to becoming a wellness organization, and they are taking these principles that they have learned from analyzing the blue zones around the world, and there's 5 of them, I believe, just 5, at least they were at the time of the book. I think that they would love to have other people with blue zones, so they're trying to instill these habits with their wellness program, which is under the name Blue Zones. And they're in certain areas that contract with the blue zones to bring their wellness program to the area. One of those is where we do a lot of work, which is in Naples, Florida, and Collier County, Florida. And Blue Zones, the organization, has recognized us because we applied as an organization. They actually have a program, a designation there called the Blue Zones Recognized Organization. We were able to meet their requirements. And so now we're a Blue Zone recognized organization, which is great because we are definitely about wellness too. And I also want to mention that the Blue Zones organization, since they are in Collier County, Florida, and Naples, Florida, and that's one of the areas that's served by our Southwest Florida Veg Fest, our free annual outdoor festival event, that they have been one of our top level sponsors of this annual event for 2 years in a row. So that is great. They've definitely put some faith into what we're doing and we have in them. And I do want to mention, just from our own organizational standpoint, just so you know, that Blue Zones is not a 100% vegan organization, but they do share many, many things with us. Most things, I'd say, that they discuss, we share as well. There are a few exceptions to that, and we'll probably get into that in this video. However, most organizations aren't 100% vegan, so that's fine. We tell everyone that we are a 100% vegan organization, a plantbaseddiet.org, and we always try to talk only about 100% vegan concepts. We know that not everybody's perfect, but that's just our role in society right now in terms of an education organization, is that we look at things from a vegan perspective. Blue Zones is a little different, and there are other organizations out there that are somewhat similar, wellness organizations that also are like that. So no big deal. And just to keep in mind, like at our annual festival events, we don't require, they're vendor events, in addition to having speaker presenters, music, and things like that. But we don't require vendors to be 100% vegan businesses or organizations. They just need to only discuss their 100% vegan concepts when they're at our event. So like if you're a restaurant and you serve regular, I shouldn't even say that. If you serve animal product burgers, you don't bring your animal product burgers to our event. You can bring your other vegan burgers to our event, okay? And you can talk about those, but you don't want to talk about the animal product burgers. Same thing deals with our speaker presenters, who many times are not totally vegan themselves, but they talk about all vegan concepts at our events, because unfortunately veganism is not yet mainstream, and hopefully it will be, and that's kind of like what we're doing as an organization. We're trying to get it there. So hey, if you're out there, remember, ask questions, say hi. You type something in there, tag your friends who want to hear about the Blue Zones if you're interested in wellness, because I'm about to get into what all this stuff is. And also, if you want to ask questions, go to VeganVideos.info. Type your questions there. The same exact live stream that you're watching now, if you're watching it live, is at VeganVideos.info. All right, so let me start by mentioning the 5 areas that were brought up in the original Blue Zones book. I've got my handy smartphone here. I gotta look them up because I want to make sure I get it right. All right, there's one in the United States, Loma Linda, California. They actually have some brand. I think Loma Linda is actually a food brand. So Loma Linda, California, if you've ever been there, say you have in the comments, type in Loma Linda if you've been there. There's Vivi. She says hi. Okay, hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. We're talking about the Blue Zones today. So one of the 5 cities around the world is Loma Linda, California. Another one is, let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, down there in Central America. That's another Blue Zone. Another one is Sardinia, Italy. And then there's one in Greece, which is Ikaria, Greece. I'm not that familiar with these cities. And then Okinawa, Japan. You probably heard of that. That's, I think, an island there in the country of Japan on the south side. It looks like warmer climate. Everything's backwards in this. It's hard to see. Okay. Everything seemed to get dark there for a second. I think it's because of my phone. Okay, there we go. Now we're lightening up. Okay, it's the artificial intelligence is taking over. So those are the 5 areas around the world. So they discovered, Dan knew when he wrote this book that there were these 5 standout areas around the world of places where people live to be at least 100 years or more, a larger percentage than normal. Because still, most people, I think even in these places, it's not like everybody lives to 100 years or more. It's just that there's a higher percentage of people in these areas that lives to 100 years or more. Now, what did they have? What kind of things did he find out in this book? All right. What were the common lifestyle choices that these people made, did, were doing, whatever? Now, there's a bunch of, I've got this picture here, which is pretty cool. It's actually it shows a ring. See this? Actually, look, my camera changes. The artificial intelligence allows you to see what's going on. There's this ring of concentric circles, and there are some things in the middle that are common to all the areas, but there are some that are only common to some of these 5 Blue Zone areas. And this actually only includes Loma Linda, Okinawa, and Sardinia, Italy. But let's start in the middle. What is common to almost everything in the Blue Zones? What do they see? What are they doing in these areas? Well, number 1 is family. Now, family can be your genetic family, your immediate family. It can be just your adopted family, anyone you consider to be family. Some type of relationships. I think this is something that was common to all these areas, that they had relationships. And a second one, which is in this list, and I'm going to jump down I don't know if you happen to see what this list, but it's down near the bottom. It's social engagement. Obviously, you cannot have family type relationships without social engagement, and I'm guessing you also have social engagement outside of these family relationships. Now, there are many ways to do that. I think when this book was written a while ago that social media wasn't a big thing. And of course, some people really give social media a bad rap. And you know what? The truth is that most people use social media as a giant waste of time and to echo and amplify their personal drama. Okay? That's just the truth. Now, if you're using it for good purposes, I believe that social media can connect you with other like-minded individuals that you wouldn't necessarily connect with. They can be just like your family, okay? So if you're connected through digital media, through the internet, through social media, and or you're in-person relationships like this, or maybe some combination of both, I think ideally you want some combination of both, then you fit kind of that habit that is present in these blue zone areas where people live happy and long lives. All right, next one is smoking. No smoking. That may be obvious, all right? It could be obvious, but to some people it's not. But you start smoking, at least I don't have a smoker's cough, you're gonna impact your health negatively. As we talked about in the recent video I did on cancer, smoking is a class or a group 1 carcinogen, the highest level of probability of causing cancer in humans. Smoking, along with, what are the other ones? Alcohol, ultraviolet radiation, and processed meat. And actually, one thing I want to mention, processed meat, that's the way it's worded, all right? It could mean, I don't necessarily think it needs to be animal product meat. It could also be non-animal product vegan meat. I don't know. Because that's really almost like a junk food. Junk food is junk food, whether it's animal products or not. Something to consider. I don't know the thought behind that, but I am just mentioning that I've been thinking about that recently. All right, next one. A plant-based diet. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, that's the name of our organization, plantbaseddiet.org. And a plant-based diet is instrumental in helping you to live a long and healthy life. I think that there's nothing that you can do that's going to outweigh the benefit of your actual diet. I think that the diet has more influence on your overall health than anything else, although everything else is very important and you should not ignore it. Don't think I'm giving you permission to ignore everything else, because I'm not. All right, next one. And here's another example of something that's not diet. Constant, moderate physical activity. Constant, moderate physical activity. What does that mean? Does that mean go run a marathon? No. In fact, there's got to be a line somewhere where the type of physical activity that you do starts to have increasing benefits as you make it more activity. And of course, from you sitting in a chair, like I'm sitting in a chair right now. Sitting is the new smoking, but I'm only doing that for just 1 hour when I'm on the video with you. Otherwise, I'm moving around. I want to have good picture and sound. This is the way to do it as far as I'm concerned. So, constant, moderate physical activity. The minute you start moving, that's great. But the minute you get to that threshold, and they don't talk about it here, but I'm just mentioning it because you can overdo it like anything else. I don't necessarily know if a half marathon's bad, but maybe a half marathon's the cutoff point. I don't know. But I don't even do the long distances as I have before. Long distance runs, extreme sports, Ironman stuff, I don't think that is necessarily going to help your health and longevity. In fact, it's probably going to harm your health and longevity. That's just the truth. And like I said, I don't know where the cutoff is, but if you know where the cutoff is, let me know in the comments. If you think you know where it is, I'd like to know. Maybe I'll do a whole video on that, because that would be interesting to me to know where to draw the line. And then legumes. Now, a plant-based diet is going to include legumes. It's just a form of plant-based eating, but that in particular seemed to make a bigger difference than most foods, and a bigger positive difference to people for their longevity. So anyway, that is it. Now let's go with some of the double overlapping circles. So these are similar with at least 2 of the 3 areas, and there are Loma Linda, Sardinia, and Okinawa. Now, there's similarities here between Loma Linda and Sardinia, which are whole grains. Whole grain, again, more specific form of plant-based eating, because especially in the United States, and actually everyone wants to be like the US, so everyone's moving away from whole grains. They're moving to highly processed grains. They're moving to bleached white grains like white flour, white pasta, all these kinds of things, white rice. You want to stay with the whole grains because that's going to benefit your health. I don't think there's any question about that. Hey, OG man, doing streams today. Yeah, okay. Are you doing streams? We're doing streams. Yeah, we'll be on here for a little while. We're talking about the blue zones. If you're familiar with the blue zones, let me know what you know about them there in the comments. Okay, the other thing, this is interesting, between Loma Linda and Sardinia is that they are culturally isolated. Now, Loma Linda is not going to, you go to Loma Linda, I guess I've never been there, but that would be nice to go. It doesn't sound like it's going to be like your typical American town. They've kind of kept their own culture, a culture that they believe, I think, is most beneficial to humans, and they're probably right, because the culture in the United States does not really consider what's most beneficial to humans, I don't think, overall in terms of human health. All right? Now, freedom and rights and all that, we seem to be big on that here in the United States, but making sure that people are a healthy, balanced, leading a healthy, balanced lifestyle, I don't think that's very high on anybody's priority list. And that's why Loma Linda is isolated. Sardinia is an island, I believe, out in the Mediterranean. So they are geographically isolated in addition to being isolated culturally. But I do think, I've always thought that there are always some benefits, because just because something's popular, it's big, and hey, you want to be like the Americans, you want to be in the American culture, doesn't mean that we're doing everything right. And in a lot of ways, when the status quo gets involved, even if we're doing something wrong, they don't want to change it. So there are definitely some benefits if you do it right. Let's talk about the double overlap between Loma Linda and Okinawa. That is high soy consumption. All right, now we've talked about this before. I know others have brought this up, that there's problems with soy. OG man, all right, for anyone else joining right now, what is Blue Zones? Blue Zones started out as 5 cities around the earth that were identified as having a larger than normal percentage of people that lived to be 100 years old or more before they died. So they obviously have good lifestyle habits, and we're learning what are these lifestyle habits, what contributes to a healthy lifestyle and to living long. And there are 5 of them. Let me go through them: Loma Linda, California; Sardinia, Italy; Okinawa, Japan; and then there was one in Costa Rica and one in Greece. I can't remember the names, but those are the 5. And so we're going to continue to talk about what makes these people so extra healthy and extra happy. All right, now again, between Loma Linda and Okinawa, high soy consumption. But remember, I did a video on this, and I did a video called Gluten versus Glyphosate. Look that up if you want to see more. Gluten versus Glyphosate. And I talked about why I think maybe the fact that almost all food these days is non-organic and almost all food contains traces of glyphosate, that maybe it's not the gluten that's the problem, it's the glyphosate. That's the same thing with soy. The only problem with soy, the only problem, all right, if you remember anything about soy, is that it's not organic. So just go get the organic soy and you're not going to have any problems. Eat as much as you want. Because as you can see, this is an overlap between Loma Linda and Okinawa, and this is what makes people healthy and live longer. Organic soy. It doesn't say organic here, but I'm just telling you, I'm giving you the cliff notes, if anybody remembers that. No, don't eat non-organic foods. That's another double negative. Eat organic foods. Eat organic soy. That's it. Remember that. All right, now faith is another one. They have a faith. Of course, there's all kinds of different faiths. Some people say that there's people worship 5,000 different gods, so none of them, they're all wrong. Well, you know what? They're obviously doing something right. If they have faith in something and they're not going to be crass and judgmental and, let's see, what is another word? Sarcastic is what I'm thinking, but it's more like, oh gosh, I'll think of it. It's an attitude. It's a bad attitude to have. But people who have faith in something usually don't carry along those types of attitudes. They just don't. The bad attitudes they don't have. Whether they're right or wrong about their faith, and I think this proves it in longevity, they're actually more at peace with their life. They are more connected with everything around them, and that leads to all kinds of benefits. So don't think you know it all and that everybody else is wrong, because if you do, it's just going to impact your health in a negative way. I think that's what that shows here. All right, so we're not going to get into individual faiths because there are so many of them. All right, the other one that Loma Linda and Okinawa share that's common is no alcohol. They don't drink alcohol. I guess that's against their religion. I don't know, their culture, whatever. But as we've talked about in the recent cancer video, we did a video on what causes cancer, and I mentioned this earlier in the thing. Alcohol is a class 1 or a group 1 carcinogen. It is absolutely known to cause cancer in humans. It's one of the few things that is absolutely known to cause cancer in humans. Don't forget that. There's only like 4 big things that are absolutely known. Tobacco, cigarette smoke, marijuana smoke probably fits in that category. That's 1. Smoke, alcohol, ultraviolet radiation, I mean overexposure, no more than 15 minutes a day because the sun is incredibly powerful, and then processed meat, and that may mean animal product meat or vegan junk food meat. All right? Don't eat any of that stuff. It's just junk. And of course, for sure the animal product meat causes, the processed animal product meat causes cancer in humans. For sure. Whether the processed vegan meat causes cancer in humans, we don't know yet. That's a new product. You know how long it takes for the stuff to, to get out there. It takes forever. All right, now let's go to the third double overlap. That's between Sardinia and Okinawa. And I gotta have another drink of water. And ask any more questions. Any more questions you have? OG, hopefully you understand what the blue zones are now. They're just good examples for us to follow if you want to live a long and happy and healthy life. And if you don't end up having a long and healthy and happy life, you're probably not following most of these things. That's just the truth. That's why we're discussing this. And by the way, a plantbaseddiet.org is a Blue Zones recognized organization. We have obtained that designation. All right, so between Sardinia and Okinawa, empowered women is something that is common with their cultures. And that's a good thing. Like we talked about in the United States, I think that's a good, the United States seems to be at the forefront, seems to be anyway, or close to it, in terms of personal freedom and, not discriminating against people, at least in 2019. In the past, that was really, really bad. I just went to George Washington's Mount Vernon and saw all the stuff the slaves had to do. That wasn't it then. All right, another common one between Okinawa and Sardinia is sunshine. They get sunshine. I guess they have a lot of it, or they're outdoors. I don't know what. But remember, just like exercise, just like all the blue zones say, constant, moderate physical activity is okay. Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it on the sunshine either. We all know premature aging, wrinkling, cancer. Okay, cancer is the biggest one. Ultraviolet radiation causes cancer. No more than 15 minutes a day just to make enough vitamin D for you, and that's it. Don't have any more. But get it every day if you can, every day. And then gardening. That's another common one between Okinawa and Sardinia. I guess they grow their own food, right? That's a good thing. Whenever you grow your own food, you're going to take really good care of it. You're going to be more aware of what you're putting in your body. So you're probably going to eat, the best stuff. And hopefully they do stuff organically. That's another thing. I hope that they do. I don't know. All right, and then let's look at the outliers. Now there's less in common with these areas, so as we're going through this, you take less and less of this as the Bible or as truth. And if you just heard those 3 categories of overlap, and let me go back and repeat the ones that all of these areas share, and that is family, which is relationships, because it doesn't mean necessarily a blood family. Social engagement, probably with people outside of your family. Social engagement could mean social media if you're using social media properly. No smoking, eating a plant-based diet, constant moderate physical activity, and eating legumes as part of that plant-based diet. Now the outliers on Loma Linda is a healthy social circle, and I guess that kind of is similar to family and social engagement, but it's got to be healthy, I guess. Remember how, the axiom, you are like the 5 people you hang out with the most? You're not immune to that. I don't care how much you know that you'll never let those people who are closest to you influence you, but they do. They absolutely do. If you don't want to be like somebody you're hanging out with, your only real choice is to hang out with someone else. And they say they have a healthy social circle here in Loma Linda. Maybe they have a higher emotional intelligence, which is really lacking in today's world, emotional intelligence. And a higher emotional intelligence is going to get you smart enough to recognize when you're hanging out with the wrong crew and go get a new one. Or at least start to distance yourself from certain people, stay away from people. You need to do that. Just because someone is blood related to you does not mean you should hang around them. Just because somebody, even if they're married to you, I don't know. You can take this to any extreme, okay? But I'd say the family one is even more important because people seem to think they have some romantic attachment to family as if there's nothing more important than that. And there isn't, I guess, those family type relationships. But don't think that just because someone's genetically related to you that they're going to be looking out for your best interest, or that they're going to show you the right example, or that they're going to even care that much about you. Don't think that. Okay, if you want people who think that, you need to find those people and you need to go hang out with them. And if you recognize that people who you're hanging out with are not like that, you need to find new people to hang out with. Okay. All right. What happens if people are eating a lot of meat? That's what. So if your crew is meat eaters, yeah, you're going to be a meat eater. So you're not going to probably be healthy. That's just the truth. And if we're talking animal product meat, that's bad. Red meat is a class 2 carcinogen, I believe. Processed animal meat is a class 1 carcinogen. We know that they cause, in addition to cancer, cardiovascular disease. And between cardiovascular disease and cancer, they're the number 1 and number 2 killers. And between the total number of deaths caused by number 1 and 2 compared to everything else is probably more than everything else combined. So that's a bad crew, if you ask me. Unless you are vegan yourself and you can convince these people to change their habits, then you might do them some good. But you've got to only give that so much time until they're affecting you more than you're affecting them. That's when it gets really bad. So if you're smart enough to recognize you need to be eating a plant-based diet and they're eating meat, you may need to cut ties. That's just the truth. And it's not that easy to do. Most people don't want to do things that aren't easy. They want to take the easy way out. Most people will never do what I'm talking about, even though you claim you might know what I'm talking about. Or you might say, like I said, oh, these friends of mine aren't going to affect me. That's just not true. And it shows it here in the blue zones. You've got to make the tough choices. They will make the tough choices. And maybe Loma Linda, they're culturally isolated. Maybe their tough choice means we isolate ourselves from the toxic culture. And, well, obviously it's working for them. And yeah, the United States does have overall pretty low emotional intelligence in the culture and a low importance on health in the culture. So I think that they've probably done that right over in Loma Linda. That's my opinion. All right, what is this? Drinking water is good for people. Yes, it is good. I've got water, but it's got to be purified water. It's got to be clean water. And don't think because you live in some developed country with the best public water system that you're going to have good water coming out of there. I would not drink your well water. I would not drink your tap water, your city water, your municipal water. Don't assume any of that stuff's clean. Get reverse osmosis purified water from a system that's working right, or get distilled water. That's what you should drink. And yes, water is the drink of choice for sure. Absolutely. All right, and then the other thing that Loma Linda does that the other two don't is they eat a lot of nuts. They eat nuts. Nuts are great, and if you look at our logo for plantbaseddiet.org, you can see it's what we think is the best food pyramid. And actually, water's at the bottom. Stuff at the bottom you want to have more of. Pure water is at the bottom. Then you got leafy greens. Your diet, lots of pure water, lots of leafy greens, and fruits and vegetables. That should be most of your diet. And then above that, you've got, some grains, nuts and seeds, and what's the other one? Herbs, like medicinal herbs or whatever they are, microgreens, something like that. Okay, yeah, stuff that you want to have, but just in very, very small amounts, not too much. So eating nuts is up there at the top because the problem with nuts is, and they don't go into this detail, but we're going to go into this detail, that they have a tremendous amount of fat. Nuts, seeds, and avocados are nice to have in your diet, and they provide lots of beneficial nutrients, and they should be eaten sparingly because they give you that variety of nutrition that you want to have in your diet for sure. But they are going to put too much fat into your diet, as I found out recently, if you're eating them on a daily basis. So don't do that. Don't. You want to eat them sparingly, but definitely eat them because obviously eating them is what was helping Loma Linda. And there are definitely some benefits, but in extreme moderation. Okay, you got to be eating a low-fat, whole food, plant-based, organic diet. That's what you need to be eating. All right, now let's go over to Okinawa, Japan. What are the things over there at Okinawa that are helping them? This is a nice one. No time urgency. Don't you feel like you have not enough hours in the day and too much to do? I do. I can tell you that right now. But they have no time urgency in Okinawa, Japan. How would you like to have no time urgency? I guess anyone could. It's just a matter of you're choosing your lifestyle and living below your means, right? And a lot of people think, well, when I retire, I'll finally get to whatever. And I think they assume that that means I won't have any time urgency, but that's not necessarily true. I think I see a lot of people who are either one extreme or the other when they're retired. They either don't move from their house and are constantly watching television, or they are busier than they've ever been. Neither one is going to help you improve your health. Okay, you want somewhere in the middle, like that constant moderate physical activity. And you got time urgency. Another time urgency thing could be considered stress, anxiety, getting overwhelmed. If you're feeling any of that, you're not fitting into this category of no time urgency. You've got to make some adjustments, because obviously this is working for Okinawa, Japan, and it's definitely going to impact your health in a negative way if you've got that stress or anxiety, those types of feelings on a somewhat regular basis. All right, likability. I don't know what that means. I guess they like their lives. I think if that's true, then, or people like them. I don't know. Either one would be a benefit. So that's a good thing. And then turmeric. They eat turmeric as part of their diet. That's obviously a very beneficial food or spice to eat. And I'm certain that it provides health benefits. So that's a good thing. All right, and then Sardinia, Italy, fava beans. That's a bean that they like to eat, because legumes is listed between all three of these as something that is common between all three of these areas. But the fava bean, I guess, maybe provides them with a little bit extra, whatever, I don't know. And it's something that's becoming more popular, actually, in the vegan community, plant-based eating, as time goes on. And then the last one, high polyphenol wine. High polyphenol wine. Well, we know, and remember, Blue Zones is not necessarily the Bible, and we don't necessarily agree with everything they say. We agree with most. But yeah, I'm sure the wine may help them in some way. But the problem with wine is it is a class or a group 1 carcinogen in humans, absolutely for certain. It is addictive. It has a lot of calories in it. It's highly calorie concentrated. It makes you get a buzz, which typically in most people leads to bad decisions. It's not a positive thing for most people. There are some people that can handle it, but they still can't handle the cancer. They don't know where the top level is for cancer or not. There is none, because it causes cancer in humans. So it's something to be very, very careful about. And I don't know if I would personally endorse that one. All right, we got another, let's see. How much fruit do people eat? That's a OG man is asking me that. Well, you're right. Fruit is not mentioned in here specifically, other than it does say eat a plant-based diet. So you're going to be eating fruits. I mean, if you go to our website, aplantbaseddiet.org, go to our Facebook page, aplantbaseddiet.org, go to our Facebook group, aplantbaseddiet.org. Take a look at our logo, and you will see what we believe is the optimal level of eating for different types of food and what makes up a good balanced diet. And again, I'll repeat it. It's water at the bottom, leafy greens right above that, fruits and vegetables above that. So you should have a lot of fruits. Vegetables are better for you in general than fruits. But then after that, of course beans are just above that level, I'd say. And they are obviously important here, legumes and beans. But then you get into grains, you get into nuts and seeds and avocados. You got to really start to slow that down. And then microgreens really, really slow that down. So that is pretty much most of what I wanted to discuss about the Blue Zones. Now, the Blue Zones is like a wellness program. And like I said, they were a great top-level sponsor for our Southwest Florida Veg Fest. swflvegfest.org if you want to check it out. swflvegfest.org. They've been a great sponsor for the past 2 years. We hope that they continue. And, hope that they continue to positively impact the world. And, of course, like I said, our missions are not 100% aligned, but they are not aligned 100% with anybody else. They have their own thing, and we mostly line up with what they're doing. So we support them, and they support us, which is a really good thing. And you should try to learn as much as you can from these Blue Zone habits, and that's why I went through that whole list. Actually, while I'm looking at this, let me see if there's something else I can find. Blue Zones. And again, type your questions. If you're out there, give me your questions. Q&A, anything you have to contribute, let me know there in the comments. If your question you find I'm ignoring you, I'm not ignoring you. just go to VeganVideos.info. VeganVideos.info. The same live stream is happening there on our YouTube channel, and type your question in there, and I'll definitely get it. I'll get it right away. So, okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of things here on the Blue Zones. So, so here, something else I see from the Blue Zones, I know they've talked about this, like one of the beginning things that they do in a community where they're trying to instill Blue Zones values is talking about finding your purpose. Because if you don't have a life purpose, you kind of are just kind of drifting out there, and everything's not necessarily important or whatever. And knowing your purpose gives you focus. It gives you goals, which most people don't even seem to have, and it gives you some reason for living, really, outside of yourself, something bigger than yourself, and that can make a huge difference in the way that you feel. You know, if you've ever been depressed and you don't know your life purpose, I don't know how you'll ever effectively stop falling into depression without knowing what your life purpose is, okay? Because all this stuff is related, and of course we'll do a whole other video on depression maybe, but this may all be lifestyle related too, in terms of exercise, not getting enough, not eating the right foods, etc., but also your purpose. I'm talking about purpose because Blue Zones discusses that, and it's a very, very important concept. Your purpose, the 80% rule, plant slant they call it. Now see, they mentioned wine at 5 in their little wheel here, and again, look, come on, breast cancer is a huge thing. Huge. If you even suspect that alcohol is causing breast cancer, that is the last thing you want to be consuming, okay? You don't want to take that choice. Nobody wants to have to go through that. So, yeah, everything else I think we discussed. This Power 9 is 9 lifestyle habits by people who have lived the longest. You know, they also, again, Blue Zones is not a vegan organization. So some of the things they're going to talk about eating in a plant-based diet are not plants. Okay, even though everything we went through, nobody mentioned eating fish, nobody mentioned eating meat. Okay, but when you talk to the Blue Zones and you hear about the Blue Zones, you'll find that, you know, some of these people did eat fish and meat, smaller amounts maybe as a garnish on their dish as opposed to the main dish like they do in most places, especially the United States. But, you know, you could, I mean, the truth is, if you're talking about just human health, if you could do 95% of your diet correct without any animal products in it and the right levels and variety of foods and not getting too high of fats in there, etc., you know, if you were to throw 5% animal products in there, it's probably not going to make much of a difference in your longevity from a health standpoint. But I would never recommend that because the average person can't do it. Just like they can't do alcohol, they can't do smoking in moderation, they can't do anything. You know, like Dr. Greger says, moderation, instead of hitting yourself with a regular size hammer, that's what non-moderation is, you're just hitting yourself with a smaller hammer. Moderation, if you look at it that way. Yeah, I know that moderation seems to be like, okay, I'm not going to hang out with any loony people who are discussing one extreme or the other. But no, if you really think about moderation, yeah, you are just doing something you know hurts you. You're just doing less of it. All right? That's the problem. And by the way, Dr. Michael Greger will be at 4 of our events this year, 4 of our annual festivals. Go to VeganEvents.info. VeganEvents.info. That is our calendar. It takes you to our Facebook page calendar. Scroll down. You'll see where he's going to be. He's going to be at Charlotte County Veg Fest early March. And these are all free general admission events. There's no cost to see Dr. Greger, okay? Charlotte County Veg Fest. Then there is Savannah Veg Fest in Savannah, Georgia. Then there is Raleigh Veg Fest in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then there is Fairfax Veg Fest in Fairfax County, Virginia, Northern Virginia, just west of D.C. It's a suburb of D.C. And I know I'm going to have to stop this video soon because I'm not able to talk that much. So anyway, that hopefully provides a really good overview for you guys of the Blue Zones, what the Blue Zones program is, what identifies the Blue Zone, and hopefully over time, I think the goal is that more and more places around the globe will have longevity and health that is very similar, if not identical, to these 5 Blue Zone cities or towns or whatever you call them. Actually, None of them are cities, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think any of them are cities. That's another thing that's interesting. Yeah, actually, I want to mention that here because I'd say that if you look at society in general, especially the United States, they, when you get into urban environments, and typically the closer you get to like the urban core downtown, you get some really healthy people. Really healthy. At least assuming that you're on the expensive side of town or the right side of the tracks, whatever. Because if you're in the non-gentrified part of town, okay, these, you don't have the same people. But if you have the gentrified, expensive, of course, this means high standard of living, high income. You've got people who are really taking care of their health in cities. So I'd say in most places, especially the United States, that's where you find your regular concentrations of super healthy people are like downtown, wealthy areas, wealthy downtown areas of larger cities. And then when you get out to the country, I'd say for the most part, again, I'm generalizing, I'm stereotyping, whatever you want to say, but when you get out into the country areas, you hear about, oh, I want to go out, no more of that chaos, no more of that rat race, I want to breathe in some fresh country air. And yeah, that's all well and good in your mind, but the reality is what happens to the average person when they get out into the country, and this is the average person, is that they just drive their car everywhere. And they barely have any physical activity. They have a very poor diet. They have so many of these things that we talked about that make up a blue zone. They don't do those things. The average country person, all right? Person that lives in the country. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just making generalizations. So it's, as it turns out, look, most of these 5 areas, I think that they are not urban cores. They are not wealthy downtown areas. They are just smaller, more isolated types of rural type towns where they can, I guess, have the a little bit of isolation so that, and they positively use that isolation to ponder what they're doing and to make better choices and to learn. I think that that's why these areas have developed the way that they have, because the average person, as we've talked about in many of these videos, the average person doesn't spend much time learning anything new. They don't care. They already think they know it all, and they're just going to follow pretty much what everyone else does, right? Even with all this technology we have, like I said, most people, the average person, uses the technology, the social media, to just waste large amounts of time and do really mindless stuff when they could be learning. And I guess maybe that's just the way the world works. There's always only a small percentage of the people that actually really try to better things, and the rest just think it's one nonstop party, I guess, or or they don't want to be like those extremists, okay, that are living to 100 years old. I don't know. I don't think that they're extremists. It doesn't sound like these blue zone areas have people that are doing anything but living a balanced lifestyle. And I guess if living a balanced lifestyle is extreme, then blue zones areas are extreme. So I guess that depends on your terminology, because I would think a balanced lifestyle, a balanced, healthy lifestyle is not extreme. I would think that everyone else who has the negative consequences of an unbalanced, unhealthy lifestyle, which is either usually a combination of nonstop maintenance pharmaceutical medications coupled with lots of medical visits and medical procedures, lots of expense, lots of lost productivity, lots of misery and suffering, because all that has misery and suffering. All this pharmaceuticals, medical visits, medical procedures, all that stuff is loaded with all kinds of negative side effects. So all this is why we support the blue zones, because the blue zones doesn't want you to have to go through that either. Okay? Now, of course, we are not talking about people who get into trauma, physical trauma accidents that have to get taken care of and this kind of thing. Sometimes there are freak things where people really have to go, but unfortunately the majority of medical issues are disease management, not health care. We're managing disease, and in almost all cases the disease is preventable, haltable, and reversible by proper lifestyle choices, and that's why we keep focusing on that. And of course, veganism fits right into that, because they didn't mention it here in the blue zones, but I just feel like being kind to other living beings probably has some kind of role in this. Okay, they didn't mention that anywhere. although they said they're likable, right? One of these groups of people is likable, so they must be kind to others or other living beings. And then in terms of the environment, well, I don't think that these people, correct me if I'm wrong, are going out and knowingly destroying their local environment. And actually that could be why, another reason why these blue zone areas are more isolated from the rest of the world is because they don't want to participate in the destruction that the rest of the world seems, the environmental destruction that the rest of the world seems to be okay with. So that may be another factor in all this. So if you think about it, like I said, even though the blue zones themselves are not vegan, blue zones is not a 100% vegan concept. I think that it does follow along with most of the three, for people, animals, and our planet parts of veganism. Those three parts of the triangle. So, and actually, yeah, and our logo is a triangle too. So that all matches up. Well, anyway, thanks so much for being with us for this video. And if you're not watching it live, because at this point, if you're just joining us, you're not going to hear anything, and you're watching this as I recorded it, just be sure that you can share it. This video will stay on the platform that you are watching it on. Tag some of your friends that need to hear this. Anybody who wants a good overview of the blue zones, and give me your feedback too in the comments, even if you're not watching it live. Can you hear that hammering? Yeah. Even if you're not watching it live, I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your own experiences with the blue zones. Have you visited any of these blue zone places? Let me know in the comments. And again, be sure to, if you want to hear more videos like this, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, VeganVideos.info. That's VeganVideos.info. All of our live in-person events, right now they're on the East Coast of the United States, but we have a whole calendar of them at VeganEvents.info. That's VeganEvents.info. And the last thing, because all food is not equal, all vegan food is not healthy. Remember, we have a free certification for what we call the healthy vegan food, and it's available for free to any restaurant, food vendor, as long as they offer at least one entree that meets our standards, which is right now at least 100% vegan and no added oil, no oil as an added ingredient. And if you want to find out more, go to healthyveganfood.info. So this is Mike signing off, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, everybody.